Hey everybody, Debbie here with another Stratego game analysis. And this is game number 15 of the Stratego Mystery Players series with the flag up front. And hopefully we will start a new win streak after unfortunately getting scouted on our last game. Now in this game, it looks like we can win this game. We're playing a Bronze Lieutenant with a 192 ELO rating. Now that's kind of sad after playing almost 1,000 games that this player can't get above 200 ELO. He probably just doesn't grasp how to play from behind. He probably never figured that out, and I guess as soon as he gets behind, he lottos. And then you lotto, you win some, you lose some, and then you never advance. I think if he would learn how to play from behind, and then if he has a semi-decent memory, he could really move up the leaderboards fairly quickly. But for whatever reason, he's stuck below 200. So let's see if we can get our win streak going again. And move this forward. Okay. So we get to go first. So that's always good. So we're okay. So we're not going to lose this game if I move over. Move over. Yes, come on, move over. Sometimes I get cocky and then I lose on the third move. So that turned out fine. And I'm glad that it was a captain. So I get a captain. See, I used to come up here with a captain all the time because I didn't want to make it look like this was my strong side. And majors can attract high pieces coming over right away. I really don't want that because I don't want people to think this is an important side. I just want this side to be boring so no one comes over here and finds a flag. But a lot of times when I just came up with a captain, my opponent would come up with a captain, and then right behind the captain would be a scout, and I would lose the game. So I had to bite the bullet and be a little bit braver with a major instead of using a captain. So in that case, that worked out fine here. And I also moved my marshal up, I think, more often now. I think this is a better spot for the marshal to protect the flag. So see, it turns out this was a scout, so if the captains would have swapped, he probably would have won the game. So that turned out great. Now, this might not be a scout. If this was a high piece, if this was a marshal or general, if you find that out later, and this piece doesn't take me, then you can assume that this is not a scout at all. But you have to first see if this is a high piece. If this is a low piece, then he might not want to trade scouts if this is like a sergeant. Okay, so he has a major up front. That's nice to know. We try to bluff him back. I really want to get my general out. That's the purpose of that move. Because majors, you always want to remember where colonels, majors, and captains go. That's the whole point of this game. You want to find the high pieces, and then once you find the high pieces, the marshal in general, once you find the high pieces, then you want to target the colonels, the majors, and the captains. So you always want to remember where they go. So since this was a lieutenant, this might be a scout. And I always like to attack only one order higher. I think this is a bluff piece. I don't. It might be a major, but he had a scout here. He had a scout captain, so this is probably a weak piece. This might be a sergeant or a lieutenant or a minor. I don't think this is a strong piece. And that's a lieutenant, so we get our lieutenant. Now we'll find out. Okay, this could be a good piece. This could be this is always a good spot for a colonel or a major. But now he's coming from a major, so this could be a colonel. Cover the flag back up, and okay, so it was a colonel. But this is looking like the weak side, I think. I don't think this is really a strong side. So this was a major. And we have a major and a colonel. But the colonel came from here. So this, a lot of times you have colonel, general, spy, maybe. You'll see that a lot, colonel, general, spy. So now we have a captain, so that's nice. So now we're getting some good targets. Captain, major, and colonel. Now this could also be the marshal, spy, major trap. But I don't know, this player was so bad with his record and rating, I don't think he knows that. So I think this piece is a bluff. So we have captain, major, colonel, probably junk. So I'm not a fan of this. He tucked away his colonel here, and I really don't like doing that. When your colonel's revealed, either you want to swap colonels. Once you find another opponent's colonel, you want to swap colonels, or you want to have escape lanes for your colonel to get to safety. I think anytime you tuck away pieces like that, they just become easy for your opponent to trap. So maybe his goal is to hope I forget, but I think most, even silver players, they will remember where the colonels go and marshals go, and I mean colonels and majors hide. So I think this is a bad mistake here. That's what good players look for. They love to get colonels as the targets you really love to trap. So I still think this is a bluff, but I'll go back. He's probably not going to attack me. Maybe he just made that spot so his colonel could sneak back. And I don't think this is a good piece either. I think these are both. I think this is his weak side. So we have a captain and a major and a colonel and probably two weak pieces. This piece could be good. This piece could be a marshal. I don't think it's a spy. It's either a marshal or general. I think all three of these pieces are weak. Minor, sergeant, lieutenant, something like that. I don't think that. It's just where they come from. This piece was good. I think he would have attacked my major. He didn't. So it was junk. We don't have to worry about this being a scout So I really can't move away from my flag. He still has 6 scouts. So that's good. He finds a bomb, so hopefully he'll think this is a bomb. So Captain, Major, Colonel. The key is to find out what this piece is. If we find out what this is, then we can do some planning here. I should pull back this minor. There's no reason to lose it to this captain. You know what it is. And this probably isn't a good piece. One thing you want to avoid when you're playing is to get caught up on one side and devote all your attention to one side. You have to look what's going on over here as well. I have a lot of trouble with that. I tend to dwell on one side where the action is, where my planning is, and sometimes I don't really take the time to see what's going on over here, and you really need to focus on both. Give it equal attention. It's just hard to you get so caught up with what you're doing, you don't really care what your opponent is doing on the other side, and you can wind up losing a lot of games that way. So don't do that. Try to follow the whole board. It's a lot of information. It can be overwhelming for beginners. And that makes sense to pull this back. I think that was just a misclick. So Captain, Major, Colonel. So I don't believe this piece has moved. And so, let me pause it here for a second. A lot of people, a lot of beginners tend to keep their marshal and general in a symmetric pattern. So if you find the general, let's say if you find the general here, then you'll find a marshal on the other side, opposite side. So they try to keep a balance. So if this is a marshal, then this might be the general, and vice versa. And remember, one good rule of thumb is 2/3 of the time, if you find the marshal on one side, the general is 2/3 of the time on the other side of the board. So basically 67% of the time, the marshal is on one side and the general is on the other side. So that's a good stat to keep in mind. That can help you make a lot of decisions. Help you with your planning. See, I'm one of the rare birds that likes to overload a side. I mean, I really overload a side. You have the marshal, general, and both colonels on one side. That's a real overload. So that was a weak piece again. So I'm thinking, besides the colonel, well, the major is here, but besides the colonel over here, there wasn't a whole lot. So it's beginning to look like this is the weak side. The flag's probably on this side. The marshal might be on this side. So I'm thinking this might be a general, spy, colonel. So the goal is to find out what this piece is. I probably should have moved my sergeant over here to protect the captain. And see, now that's why I have to leave my major here. If you don't clear this column, these scouts will come down and they will find this flag. So that's good now. We find the general here. So I'm thinking the marshal is here. So we know captain, major. This might be a spy, and this is a colonel. So that's pretty good. So I'm gonna go right in. I don't think this is a marshal. I don't think this is a marshal either. And now this is a tell here. He's moving his captain forward. Maybe he doesn't want to be caught, but maybe instead he's making room for this piece to come and get me. This is more likely to be a spy than a marshal. That just doesn't make any sense for this to be a marshal. Remember, I'm playing a beginner here, a beginner with a poor record and a low ELO. So I doubt he has a marshal here. That would just be really strange. So now he just made a huge mistake here. He probably doesn't even know the 2 square rule. And here's his colonel. And his colonel is now dead. The only thing I have to worry about is if this is a marshal or if this is a marshal. And I just don't think that's likely. So I have to bring up my marshal to protect the flag and major. Now he's bringing this piece over, which kind of gives it away that this is a marshal. Or it's a really good bluff. And his colonel is dead. So you really don't want to do that when you don't want to play possum with your pieces. Because even silver players and beginner gold players there, the low level, they're still going to remember where your colonel is. So playing possum with your pieces is not a good idea. You should learn the 2 square rule to learn how to avoid being captured by one piece, or you should make escape lanes so you can get away easily. So now when a person like this gets behind, what do? They lotto. They almost always lotto, so you got to be ready. So I just put the miner there to make sure. And sure enough, he comes in with the marshal, and the game gets done with fairly quickly here. So yeah, that was a big mistake, just leaving your colonel there to die. Basically, he should have learned the 2 square rule to avoid being captured by one piece. Always do that, and I don't think you should park your pieces where they can be trapped easily. That was a big mistake. When I came here, he should have, even though he was losing, even though he was down a major and down a lieutenant, he had to instead of going this way, he had to sacrifice his general and swap, because his colonel was gonna die otherwise. So that didn't make any sense. But anyway, so learn the 2 square rule so you don't get trapped, and don't park your pieces and hope people don't find them, because good players, the great players, hardly ever forget where pieces go, and you'll never advance up the leaderboard if you do stuff like this. All right, so we got a new win streak, 1 in a row here, and we won game 15, so we'll work on game 16. Thanks for watching. Bye.